if you remember, with good things. Yeah? That is 18 verse 22. We saw that a good wife is compared to good things, and we then saw, if you, just by way of recap so that we get going where we are, that principle also applied to a person who finds a husband. But we also said that finding a good wife there means finding a wife on God's terms. Okay? It is to find a wife on God's terms, not just to find a wife. So if you say that a man who finds a wife finds a good thing, but you've stolen someone else's wife, that is not a good thing. That is not the one that the Bible talks about. The Bible talks about finding a wife, finding a good thing on God's terms. So, for example, if you are a believer, then you seek a believing lady to be your spouse, then you're finding a good thing. If you decide that you're going to find any lady to be your wife, although you are a believer and you really don't care, then that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. That is not what the writer of Proverbs is referring to as a good thing. And you remember that we cross-checked that with 1914. Okay? Are we there? 1914. Proverbs 19:14, that is what I mean. Are we together, friends? I'm just trying to recap quickly because actually our next topic is Proverbs 19:14. So I'm just recapping and connecting it quickly. 19:14, what does it say? House and wealth are inherited from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Okay? So we were saying, if you remember, after we did the comparison with a good thing, I told you that our next comparison, which is our comparison number B, is a comparison with an inheritance, which is where we are going today. Comparison with an inheritance. Okay? A good wife who is a crown to her husband, Solomon compares her with an inheritance. Okay? A good wife can also be compared with an inheritance. Now, when you do comparisons, anytime you do comparisons, you are thinking of that, what we learned in school about than. You remember that? Better than, wiser than, smaller than, bigger than. You remember those than statements? Anytime you are comparing anything, remember that word. You are comparing two things. A teacher is better than a doctor. Then you have to explain why a teacher is better than a doctor, for example. So whenever you are thinking about comparison, do not think of comparison as exactly similar. Sometimes what you compare could be better than what it is compared with. In the instant case, almost always as Solomon does these comparisons, he does them to say that this wife who is a crown to her husband is better than a good thing. That wife is better than an inheritance. Are we together? Almost always he is comparing the wife as better than. Now, he says that a good wife can also be compared with an inheritance. And he notes that while inheritances come from parents, now I want to tell you why I'm saying that the wife is better than an inheritance. All right? Because you're saying, but inheritance is also good. Why is the wife better? It is the source. Look at it with me. Verse 14. Where is the inheritance coming from? From fathers. But where is the good wife coming from? From the Lord. The mere fact of the source of the blessing shows you which one is superior, isn't it? Yes. Yes. The good wife comes from the Lord. That is the source. Inheritance is from a parent, a father. You get it from another human being. Anything you get from a human being could be faulty, isn't it? Yes, it would have faults. Maybe the way it was acquired, the inheritance was not acquired well. Maybe it is something that was stolen by your father. Now you are getting it as an inheritance. Not so what the Lord gives you. That gift from the Lord. And this is to show us how much of tremendous value is a godly spouse. A godly spouse is of tremendous value. She is more than the inheritance we get from our parents. Our parents, the inheritance we get from our parents is also valued, right? That is why it is being used to compare, isn't it? It's of value. Those who are able to inherit something from their parents are happy about it, aren't they? And many times people say, I did not inherit anything from my parents. All I have, I worked for. People say that like that, isn't it? They are not saying like that because they are really feeling nice that they didn't inherit. In fact, they are complaining, aren't they? They are complaining in a way. And so just as wisdom, we did see, is more valuable than even jewels and even gold, finding a God-honoring partner, finding a God-honoring partner to be your wife as a man is better than massive inheritance. Massive inheritance. Now, in our country here in Kenya, you know that there are some very wealthy families, isn't it? That is known by all of us, especially those families that come from politics, the families that are in politics. They are called dynasties, isn't it? They are wealthy, aren't they? Talk has it that some of them are so wealthy that with the inheritances that they have received, it is not conceivable that they can be poor. Did you hear them say that during the last elections? That some families have inherited, like the family of the first president. It is said that they have such a huge inheritance in terms of money and wealth that it is not conceivable that even in the next 100 years, even if they decided to squander it, they would never be poor. That's a massive inheritance. That's massive inheritance from a father, from parents. That's massive inheritance. The writer Solomon compares many things. Inheritance, you're talking about money and wealth, isn't it? Material money and wealth, which in Solomon's time would be measured in terms of gold. Even today, gold is seen as the most precious metal, isn't it? Probably the most precious metal. I don't know, but I think so. If you go to Proverbs 16 and verse 16, he also compares gold with the wisdom. Remember that we are in character, counsel, and consequences, isn't it? Counsel is wisdom, isn't it? What does he say about gold compared to wisdom? Someone can read it? 16:16, yes?
How much better to get wisdom
Mm-hmm.
from God?
Mm-hmm.
Get understanding.
how much better to get wisdom than gold. To get understanding is to be chosen, isn't it? Rather than or above silver. There are things which are just better than others. If we are going to listen to God's counsel about what kind of wife we are going to get, or then that is better than an inheritance. That is better than an inheritance. Finding a God-honoring wife is compared to inheritance. And worldly parents, as I've said, may offer enormous wealth to their children. But yet the person who is blessed with a believing wife, a discerning spouse, that is truly a gift from God. That is truly a gift from God. That is truly a gift from God. In Solomon's time, men especially valued marrying very prudent wives. Very prudent wives. It was a big deal. And that is why I think he ends with verse chapter 31, isn't it? That noble wife that we peeped through her window. You know. And in that chapter 31, he includes a long list of practical benefits that a wise woman brings to her home. So in Solomon's time, people valued the idea that when you marry a very prudent wife, one that would give you a lot of peace. Those were the considerations. Now, what are some of the considerations now when people want to marry a wife? What are some of the things that we in our world today would take into account when we want to marry a wife? Particularly those of you who have not yet married. What are some of the things, young men who have not yet married amongst? What are some of the things that you really think about before we even go to the women? What about men? What are some of the things that you, when you want to, what are you looking forward to?
Some of the things that we have to consider first of all, they are Christian.
Are they Christian? So can we just say faith? We consider their faith, isn't it? So we may consider their faith or belief. What do we consider? Oh, you don't want others to enjoy? Oh, someone is suffering. Okay. Ezra, come and sit here. Come and sit here. What are some of the things we consider other than faith? Yes, Paul? Character, which is closely tied to faith, isn't it? Yes? Tribe, which tribe does she come from, isn't it? Or community, isn't it? Don't marry from this tribe. Yes, Elizabeth? Beauty? Beauty? That is appearance, isn't it? See, beauty has to do with appearance. Particularly physical. Physical appearance. What else? Yes? Education. Is she educated, isn't it? Education, which has to do with some culture, isn't it? How is she cultured? Your hand was up? Age, eh? How old is she? Age. What are other things that we may consider? Yes? Financial. What are you bringing to the table, isn't it? I thought we were going to start with that one. financial status. In fact, you can even, when it comes to financial status, you can even be thinking of her parents, isn't it? Which family she is coming from. If you will benefit from there. You can also benefit from there. If she comes from a very wealthy family. So those are some of the things we consider. Yes, Deacon? Worldview. Worldview. Could that be here? Worldview? Could that be here, Deacon? Around faith, belief, or even under culture, isn't it? Her worldview. How she views life. How she views... how is exposure, isn't it? Is she exposed? Ama tu ni msichana wa ushago, Yes, my sister. Personality. What is her personality? Isn't it? How she dresses, maybe. Isn't it? Some people even consider how she speaks English. Accent yake. So she does not say L when she's supposed to mean R. So accent, speech, isn't it? So there are so many things that people consider as they want to marry. Yet in Solomon's time, what seems to have been key is how prudent the lady is. How godly she is. Is she a prudent woman? When you talk about prudence, what do you mean? When you say someone is a prudent person, what do you understand that to mean? Wise? How does she display her wisdom? Strong moral character? Morality? Pardon? God-fearing, isn't it? God-fearing person. Prudence also has something to do with management of resources, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes.
Prudence. It is to consider how is she going to manage the resources that we are going to have as a family. You remember when we peeped at Proverbs 31, that woman there, wasn't one of her strong points her ability to manage the resources? You couldn't have missed that. How does she manage the resources that God gives through her husband, who is supposed to be the breadwinner or the one who brings the bacon home? How does she manage the resources that are at her disposal from the husband? That has to do with prudence, isn't it? How does she manage her time? How does the woman manage her time? How she manages her time, resources, that is prudence. That is where prudence comes in. How she manages her time. Time management. Resource management. How she manages these two. That can disclose to you prudence. Is she lazy? Is she a gossip? Is she concerned only with external beauty, but has no concern about her character? Is she concerned with adornments, physical outward adornments only, but has no concern about her inner beauty? Inner beauty, a beauty that is God-fearing. When marriage works as God intended it, look at Genesis chapter 2 verse 24. Because there we get a hint, don't we, of how God intended it. And I recall that when Pastor was teaching us about the beginnings, he touched on this. You remember when we were doing the beginnings? In Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24. And first, no, before even you go to 24, go to 18. Just go back to verse 18 of chapter 2 of Genesis. What does it say? Ezra, just read it.
Then the Lord God said, It is not good that man should be alone.
That the man
should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him.
So first, God says that the wife is supposed to be a helper fit for, suitable for, isn't it? I think that is what it means to be fit for. Suitable for the man, right? She's supposed to be a helper and a suitable one. One who would then complement him, who would give him the oomph to go on. Isn't it? Isn't that what it means to be suitable for? A helper fit for him? That's what we were taught when we were doing the beginnings. She would then sort of support him in his role of dominion, of leadership. She would accentuate that authority. She would help him become a good leader, become a good authority, dignified authority. That's supposed to be her work, to help. And it is so much so that by the time you reach verse 24 of chapter 2, the man leaves his what? His parents, his father and his mother, and what does he do? He holds fast to his wife, and what do they become? One flesh. They are so compatible, they are so suitable for each other that you can't now see the difference between them. The implication there, friends, is that a man and his wife are so closely knit that if one is bad at managing resources, especially the helper, it will have an effect on the one who is supposed to dominate. Are you seeing what I'm telling you? Yes. They become so much together. They are so intertwined. The Bible considers them one. So that if one is not prudent, especially the helper, in terms of management of resources, because we are talking about the helper here, then it affects the other one. No wonder then the Bible is saying that even when you compare it with inheritance, that wife who is a good helper, a prudent wife, is better than an inheritance. Because it's now a gift from God. Are you seeing that aspect of the source? Where we were saying that by virtue of the source itself, one is better than the other one. If you get to become one with a wife who is not prudent, it's obvious the results, isn't it? You are one with her. You are already one with her, but she's not prudent. You remember when we were saying the lessons we are supposed to learn? Why now young men must really take care who they choose for their spouses? Because if you get involved with one and you get together and you become one with them, but they are not prudent, try as you might, you will never succeed. It's painful to talk about it like that, but that seems to be the lesson we can learn from here. If you are a Christian young man, but you decide against the advice, the counsel of wisdom of God, you remember it is character, counsel, and consequences. The consequence, friends, is that you will have a spouse who will bring you down. Try as you might. That will be the consequence. That will be the earthly consequence. Your rate of success would be so much diminished. Turn with me to 1 Peter 3:6, which again, gladly, the ladies had looked at one point in time, I believe. 1 Peter chapter 3. We can even start from verse 3 to 6. Someone can just, for context, read for us verse 3 to 6. Verse 3 to, verse 3 to 6.
First Peter chapter 3, verse 3, and it says,
Mm-hmm.
"Do not let your adorning be external, the veiling of hair, and the putting on of gold jewelry."
Of course, we know that he is addressing wives, isn't it? Are we clear on that? Okay, you go on, brother.
All the clothing you wear,
Mm-hmm.
but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. And you are as children if you do good and don't fear anything that is frightening.
Okay, so Peter speaks it here with language which is plain, isn't it? This is simple, straightforward language, isn't it? It does not need rocket science to see what Peter is saying. Peter is saying something here that much as we were listing, we saw also beauty, isn't it? Physical, outward beauty, adornment, dressing, and everything. He's saying that should not take priority in the consideration of the prudent wife. Rather, the inside of her, the character inside of her, her ability to accept wisdom for counsel and to be transformed into a Christ-like person. And he says that is how the holy women of old used to adorn themselves. Like what I'm telling you now is how it used to happen. The prudence that men looked for, that is what used to happen. They did not concern themselves so much as with external beauty. Those are women who hoped in God. And he says that one of the things that is an outcome of that internal character is that this woman submits to her own husband. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing the use of the word your own? Are you seeing? That means the woman is a woman of how many husbands? One husband. And that is the husband she submits to. That is the husband she's as of first priority. That is, every woman is submitting to their own husband. You cannot You cannot miss it. It's there. By submitting to their own husbands. And then he gives the example of Sarah, who obeyed her husband so much that she used to call him Lord. In other words, she lifted up his authority, isn't it? Because when you are talking about Lord, in those small letters in which it is written, what are you talking about? Isn't it authority? Isn't it? That is when that's when you are a crown on his head. You crown him. That's when you are a crown on his head. You crown your husband. You submit to his authority, to his leadership. You are better than an inheritance at that point. It is almost like saying, even if you have worldly inheritance that would cause you not to be poor for the next 100 years, but you have a bad wife who is not prudent, you are much the worse off for life. You will never in God's sight be considered successful in your marriage. Remember, Peter also says that the standard of prudence is in God's sight. Did you see it when we read that? That's what Peter says. He says that in verse 4, chapter 3, if you are still there in 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 4, if you look at verse 4, the standard of measure is God. Are you there? Yes, it is God. God is the standard of measure. He says, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. So it is, God is a standard of judging what is prudent and what is not prudent. So when God says a prudent wife is better than inheritance, that's what counts. Because that's the wisdom of God. That's the counsel of God. That's what counts. You know, the other day I was thinking to myself, this is an aside, this is not in my notes. I was just thinking to myself that in this marriage thing, of all the things, God tells wives just to submit to their husbands, and they tell husbands to love their wives. I was wondering to myself, why didn't he say much more than that? Why didn't he say, other than submitting to them, walk around praising them and tell everyone on the street, be very beautiful so that when they look at you, they are very happy, dress well, do your hair, smell good, brush your teeth. I mean, so many things he could have said. But he says, submit. That's important, isn't it? If it is coming from God. And for men, he says love. And he gives the standard. As Christ loved the church and was even willing to sacrifice his life for her. Two things, he says. So then if those who are looking to marriage are to abide by God's wisdom, God's counsel, the character that they should be looking for is one who will be submissive. Isn't it? Is she submissive? Is she submissive, generally speaking? That's where talking to the elders come in, isn't it? So you could talk to the elders. Please talk to the elders of the church in Kericho. There is that girl we met during the conference. Pastor, could you kindly talk to your co-pastor there? What kind of girl is she? Is she just beautiful externally? Can her pastor there say that of character, she is quite submissive? She is of a gentle spirit. Or maybe her pastor will say, that is the lady who gossips most in our church. You know, the pastor can say that. She is the laziest one in our church. Please tell your young men to look elsewhere. Let them check Eldoret. Not this one in Kericho. The pastor could say that. Is she one where even her elders, even the deacons, even the older women in the church can be able to advise the younger men, isn't it? And say, there is a good girl for you guys. Don't let her go. One of you should marry her because she is of a gentle spirit. She is likely to be very submissive to her husband and to support him and to become one with her. Let us look at some examples of women who help their husbands to be good husbands. Let us look at 1 Samuel and chapter 25. For example, women who are better than inheritance. 1 Samuel chapter 25. Are we there in 1 Samuel? Are we there? Someone can read from verse 1 part B, David and Abigail. Who would like to read kindly? Okay, you read.
Verse 1.
Verse 1 part B, when it says, then David rose.
Then David rose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Mount whose business was in Carwash. The man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He would share the sheep and the Carwash. Now the name of the man was Carwash, and the name of his wife, Abigail. The woman was his animal beauty, but the man was harsh and badly behaved. He was a Calebite.
Okay, so look at the description of who? The lady is called Abigail. How is she described in verse 3? She was discerning and beautiful. Look at the man she is united with so that she can help the man. You see the man she's supposed to be helping, her helper. No, the one she helps. He is what? Harsh and badly behaved. And that's why we're also saying that even young ladies, when they are going to marry, you see, they must also be very careful who they end up marrying. Look how this man is wasting Abigail's potential. He's actually wasting her potential as a very suitable helper. She is not only beautiful to look at, maybe that means outward beauty. She was beautiful outwardly, which is a gift from God. But inside, she was discerning. Means she was wise, isn't it? She was not just a woman for in the, she is discerning. She is wise. She is very careful what she does, isn't it? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, she is wise. She is discerning. She is able to help her husband, maybe with wisdom in terms of the things that they are supposed to be doing. She would advise the man. Of course, you know the story. David had been in the wilderness, isn't it? And while they are there, there is this man, Abigail's husband. This man who is foolish. His livestock is out there, and David and his people, they protect that livestock. And David just comes and now they are hungry, and he tells his men, please go to this man, Abigail's husband, and tell him that we want some of these things. Let him give us some of the livestock so that we can at least feed ourselves. You know the story. Abigail's husband told him, I do not know those men from, I don't know coming from where. Which son of David, Jesse is that? Tell them to go away. I don't owe them a dime. Isn't it? Tell them to go away. I'm not going to give them anything. And David could have killed the man because David was very upset. And it is her wisdom, the way she handled the situation with discernment, that averted calamity. You know that. It is just the way she handled that matter. While her husband was still beating his chest about how tough he is, the woman took some food and gave to David. Isn't it? And his men. Sent them the food. Said, please don't kill the man. And when you read, if you are still there in 1 Samuel, read verse 25. Actually, verse 32. If you are still there in 1 Samuel. You are still there in 1 Samuel? Read from verse 32 to 33. What does David say about her?
David said to Abigail, blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you this day to you. Blessed be your discretion, and blessed be you who have kept me this day from blood guilt and from working salvation with my own hand.
You understand that? He actually says, if it weren't for you, I would have murdered someone. That is what it means, blood guilt. You understand? He is telling Abigail, it is because you are a very discerning wife, discerning woman. And your discretion, the way you have acted in this matter, you have kept me from sinning. You have kept me from sinning against the Lord. I would have killed your husband together with his household, isn't it? And David says, it is because you are discerning. Because you have used your wisdom. That is truly God's gift of a prudent woman, isn't it? Yes. Later on, David would marry her, of course, when she was now widowed. Her husband eventually died. And David took her in as a wife. He didn't want to wait. Says, this man has been wasting potential here. Let me take this one. And she becomes David's wife. She's a prudent woman. That's a suitable helper. David sees it quickly, that this is a woman who will help. They become one. Remember, in verse 22, chapter 24, chapter 2 of Genesis, verse 24, they become one with the husband. And he's supposed to help the husband. A good wife, yes, can be compared with an inheritance, but she's better and more valuable than an inheritance. But a good wife is also, if we turn now to chapter 14 and verse 1, Proverbs, yes. Flip over to chapter 14, verse 1, and read it. Who is there? Can read it? Yes, please. Okay, so again, we see another comparison. We are still talking about this prudent woman who is a crown on her husband's head. She is also compared with a builder. Comparison with a builder. That wise women will build their homes. Are you seeing it there? The wisest of women builds her house. And again, she's contrasted there with a foolish woman. But we are still looking at this pure, principled, and wise woman. She builds her home. She is a blessing to her home, her family. Now, her house there basically means her household, isn't it? It's not that she is taking brick and mortar and building. No, we are talking here about the imagery. And remember what we talked about as we were beginning Proverbs. That Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, uses the terms wise and foolish generally to describe those who follow God and God's wisdom and those who reject God and God's wisdom. That is what we saw. Even in Proverbs chapter 1 verse 7, we saw that. Even in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 8, we saw that. Solomon's description here of women and their influence on the home, he uses this imagery of building. When you're talking about building, you're talking about constructing, you're talking about stability, aren't you? You're talking about raising up a home for stability. Buildings have always been the image of stability. It is an imagery that is used to show or to evidence stability. A strong house, isn't it? A built-up house. It is an image that shows stability. And Solomon here compares a good wife, a wise one, the one who is a crown on her husband's head, with a builder. The woman and her influence in the home. And so, like I've said, Solomon is not referring to actual construction of a house. He is actually referring to what you could say is homemaking. Homemaking. You remember what we said about the influence of a wife? That a wife can influence how the home turns out. Her power to influence how the home, the life in the home pans out, cannot be ignored. She blesses her home if she is prudent. What are some of the examples that you can come up with of how a wise woman who is a crown on her husband's head would partner with her husband in homemaking, in home building? How would they partner, for example? Yes? Managing finances. Actually, we had already given the hints. Managing finances. Finances or resources, isn't it? The things that are already there, or yes, Deacon? In parenting. Yes? Which other areas? Yes, my pastor? Time management. She can even influence how her husband spends his time. Isn't it? Yes. She can, yes. Encouragement. Okay. Yes, Deacon? Covering the husband's nakedness like the way Abigail did. All of us understand what it means to cover the husband's nakedness, isn't it? Covering husband's nakedness. or failures, isn't it? Yes.
Working together in Christianity.
Faith, supporting his faith, or ministry. Yes. Hospitality. Deacon Amos is the one who had said that if you arrive and the wife does not smile, isn't it? You just know you have not been welcomed in that home, isn't it? The husband is busy laughing with you, but the wife is not happy. You know, the husband is, oh, my friend, welcome, welcome. Hey, long time no see. Yeah. Many things. But what about the wife? Amenuna kuno? You are not welcomed in that house, isn't it? What about those who are in ministry, in the pastorate, in the eldership, in the diaconate, or even those who support, like in our church, those who support the leadership? What if their wives do not support them in those areas? Maybe Darius wants to come early to come and start fixing things, and his wife is telling, where are you going? Where are you going? She's not even encouraging him to come. Isn't it? Yes. We are talking about those practical aspects of our lives. She tells him, where you are in a hurry? When it is Sunday, you are in a hurry. Wait for us. We will go there at 9:30. Okay, so supporting their ministries, their works, their labors, the management of their time. Maybe she's the one who says, let's go quickly. You remember that you're teaching Bible study today, so we must hurry. Don't be too slow. That's what I mean, management of time. Because sometimes when I say it like that, it looks abstract, like it doesn't happen. It is your wife who can be telling you, please, you remember that you're preaching this Sunday. So let's get up early and prepare quickly. They support you in that way to manage your time well. That is part of homemaking. I'm talking about those practical aspects of how a woman can be a good builder. A wife can be a good builder. Someone has said they can partner with the husband in parenting. Isn't it? In parenting. The godly upbringing of children. Turn to Proverbs 22:6 and see that. Proverbs 22:6. Someone will read 22:6, then someone else can read 29:15. Who will read 22:6? So Ezra read 22:6. Who will read 29:15? Someone can read Proverbs 29:15. Yes, you will read that. Can someone else read Psalm 127, 3-5? Psalm 127, 3-5. Ephesians 6, 1-4. Ephesians 6, 1-4. There you are. Let's go. Proverbs 22, verse 6.
Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it.
So that is the mandate, isn't it? To train up a child in the way he should go. The parents are the ones mandated, not teachers. Not teachers in school. It is the parents who are mandated. Much more the father, isn't it? But the mother can partner with the father in training up a child in the way he should go. You remember that influence of the mother? Yes. So that mandate is on the parents. What about 29:15?
The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother.
Brings shame to who? His mother. She can partner with the father in using the rod. Some of us, it is our mothers who use the rod more than our fathers did to be. They were not even there to use the rod. They had gone to work. But our mothers who remained with us at home, who are constantly there with us, they are the ones who, the other day I went to Sister Olivia's house and I saw another stick somewhere and I said, I know what this thing is for. I didn't even ask her. I knew what it was for. She has just been doing that. So when Levin is bringing problems, maybe he can just be shown. Sindio, she can partner with her husband in using the rod. Isn't it? But what about that one who tells the children that it is your father who uses the rod? Not me. Me, I love you too much to ever use the rod on you. Let that be the problem of the father. Psalm 127. Go backwards to the Psalms. 127. 3 to 5.
Psalm 127.
3 through 5.
Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb and the world. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's womb. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies.
Now, children are a blessing from the Lord. How do men get them? From their wives. You must partner with your husband to get children. How will the man fill his quiver if you refuse? How will he get them if the wife refuses? We think that parenting does not involve getting children. It starts with there. That is where it starts with. What if wewe umekata? Your beauty does not allow you to have children. You will give one and say, I no longer feel like having them. How is your husband supposed to get them now? Because partnership starts from there. From getting them, isn't it? Yes, it's not just from bringing them, but also from getting them. Practical life challenges we are talking about here. Maybe you don't have any medical condition, but you just decide that because of your beauty, as a partner, as a wife, you will not get children. How is your husband supposed to get them? So that they can be brought up in the fear of God. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 to 4. Who was supposed to read that?
Chapter 6.
Yes.
Children, obey your parents in the Lord. For this is honor your brother and mother. This is the first commandment with our promise. That it may go well with you, and that it may live long in the land. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord.
So the fathers are given that mandate in the last sentence, isn't it? But the children are supposed to obey both parents, isn't it? Both the mother and the father. It cannot be gainsaid, friends, that there is a need for partnering in bringing up children in godliness. And that mandate, like we said, is given by the Bible to parents. You are the ones to get them. You are the one to bring them up. You are the one to feed them. A wife who is a crown to her husband's head can be one who facilitates physically, emotionally, spiritually, the atmosphere in the home for the good upbringing of children. A healthy environment in the home through things as simple as family hygiene. Is the house tidy for the bringing up of children? Is the place clean? What about speech habits in the house? Speech patterns. What about her own diligent attending to her own relationship with God so that the children can copy. Because whether you like it or not, friends, in this world of ours, whether you are here or abroad, more often than not, it is the mothers who spend more time with the younger children. That is how it is. Mothers tend to spend more time with children, especially in their formative ages. How do you use your time? The children are watching, they are seeing. Sometimes those of us with children, you will agree with me, that sometimes it reaches a point when we say to us, I didn't know he or she knew what was going on. Has that ever happened to you as you are raising up your children? One day you just tell your spouse, my husband or my wife, this is what our son has. Me, I didn't even realize that he is even able to grasp that. Or she is even able to know that. Because they were watching, they were observing. How much important it is, therefore, that the person they observe more, here is the wife, is able to then show them a good pattern to follow. Things as simple as not wasting money, the resources you have in the house. If you are a wife and they're always eating, it's one chocolate after another, you just eat, I love chocolate, so you're just eating chocolates. How will you eventually tell your children that this thing, too much sugar, is bad for you? I mean, for you, it is just, chocolate just kills you. How eventually would you tell your children otherwise? How are you using your resources? Are you investing them? Well, your time, someone had talked about time. What if your way of dealing with your time is to gossip? The neighborhood women come to your house for gossip, and you gossip for hours on end. There's always a story to be told, something happening in the neighborhood that you guys must talk about. And you're the star at it. And you know everything. And your children are watching you. They're watching you. How you spend your time. Maybe you spend your time on the internet. You just relax, sit down and online. Isn't it? So you have Facebook, then you go to, the other one is called Instagram, the one where Pastor Tony and I are still not there. Then you go to another one. X. That way it used to be called Twitter. Now it is called X. So you go to all those things, and that's how you spend your time. And your children are watching. How do you have then the temerity to tell your children that you can't be on the internet all the time? And that's what you do. And your husband is out working, so he has no time to be on the internet. That's how you use your resources. Do you invest your time as a woman, as a wife, on your ministry to younger women? Telling them how they can love their husbands. That's a good wife, isn't he? Isn't she? If she spends her time on her ministry, especially the older ones. She's like that virtuous woman in chapter 31. We'll eventually go there. But that one is mindful not only of her own needs, but also the needs of her family. She makes sure that she's not the only one dressing well, her children dress well. Her husband also. And he trusts her. Remember, she is the crown. You remember last week's explanation of why that crown is? Because it's a public thing. When her husband is seen outside there, dressed in a certain manner, with clean clothes, shirts which are ironed, it is thought of that it is the wife who has done it, isn't it? Yes, it's the wife. But if he is shabbily dressed, he is unkempt, people wonder whose Who is his wife? I remember one time there was a minister in Kibaki's government. I do not know if you remember him. The man who one day appeared in socks that were torn. And the camera people of the TV showed him. Do you remember that man? He was called Mishuki. He's since dead. He since died. But do you remember what the wife had to do? She had to go public and apologize. Michuki's wife did. She said, I'm sorry that he was thus embarrassed. I will do my duty better. It slipped me. I didn't see it. I didn't see that. She did. She apologized. And why was she apologizing? She is his crown, isn't it? He is a reflection of how she is managing her house. It doesn't sound nice, does it? But that is the truth. Wives, you are the crown of your husbands. The foolish woman, on the other hand, is unconcerned about the needs of her husband and her children. She does not help him to parent them. Eventually, when we go to line 2, when we will be talking about that argumentative, combative, quarrelsome, belligerent, and foolish woman or foolish wife, we will see how she sets the children against her husband. She will tell them that your father is a good-for-nothing fellow. Instead of helping to parent, to support him, to be a crown, she will bring him down in the eyes of our children, so that the children do not respect him. We will see that when we go to line 2. That is what the foolish woman does. She does not honor the Lord, nor seek to live out her calling on her life. Rather than build up her family or be a good homemaker, her actions, as we have seen in Proverbs chapter 14 verse 1 in line 2, her actions actually damage her family. And when we will be going to line 2 of chapter 12 verse 4, we will see how she damages her family. She brings down her family. So then I want to stop there. Next, when we will coming, we will be looking at line 2 now. We have finished our comparisons. We have looked at the pure, principled, and wise wife. We have compared her with good things. We have compared her with inheritance. And we have compared her with a builder. So when we come back next, we will be looking at the one I have described. Because of her qualities, it's a long word. The argumentative, combative, quarrelsome, belligerent, and foolish wife. And then that is the one who is described in chapter 12, verse 4, part B, where it says, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. Okay? So God willing, next Sunday, we will be looking at this rottenness in the bone of the husband. It's not nice. It's not a very nice topic, but that is what the Bible says, and we just have to dig in and see. And then we'll again compare it with all those chapters and verses we have used. 14, we'll use 14, chapter 14 again, and all these other chapters. Okay, so I want to leave it there unless there is a comment or a question.